Have you ever sat down to do absolutely nothing and felt a rising tide of panic? A voice in your head that starts to whisper and then to shout, "You should be doing something. This is lazy. You are wasting time." You know you're tired. You know you need a break. But the simple act of stopping feels like a crime. The stillness itself feels sinful. This is one of the great unspoken neuroses of our modern world. We have been indoctrinated by a culture that worships productivity. We have learned to equate our self-worth with our busyness, our value with our output. And so rest becomes a source not of renewal, but of profound anxiety and guilt. The great psychologist Carl Jung understood that this relentless drive to do is often a desperate flight from being. It is an addiction to motion used to avoid the quiet and sometimes uncomfortable truths that await us in the stillness. It is an escape from the shadow. But he also knew that it is only in this stillness, in what we will call the divine pause, that true healing and integration can occur. The work of the soul cannot happen when we are running at full speed. It requires us to stop. Today, our shadow work is to challenge the inner tyrant that tells you your worth is in your work. It is to reclaim rest, not as a weakness, but as a sacred act. To begin this reclamation, I invite you to make a quiet stand. In the comments below, simply write, "My rest is sacred."
This belief that rest is a sin, it is not a personal failing. It is a cultural inheritance, a psychic virus that has infected the collective consciousness of the Western world. We are the descendants of the Protestant work ethic and the Industrial Revolution, systems that taught us a simple, brutal equation. Time is money. Productivity is morality. Your worth as a human being is directly proportional to what you can produce. We have internalized this belief so deeply that it has become the air we breathe. We don't just perform it at work. We perform it for ourselves. We optimize our mornings. We track our habits. We fill every spare moment with a podcast, an audiobook, a task. We have forgotten how to simply be. The silence between activities has become a source of profound discomfort, a void to be filled as quickly as possible. But this external, cultural pressure is only half of the story. As with all things in the psyche, the outer world reflects an inner dynamic. This cultural inheritance takes root most deeply in the soil of our specific childhood experiences. As we've discussed in previous conversations, we learn our core survival strategies at a young age. For many of us, especially those who developed the fawn response, we learned a critical lesson. Our value, our safety, our very right to belong was tied to our usefulness. Perhaps you were the responsible child in a chaotic family. You were praised for being mature, for helping out, for not being a burden. You learned, my worth is in my doing. To be loved, I must be helpful. Resting feels like a betrayal of your core identity as the capable one. Or perhaps you grew up with parents who were high achievers. Love and approval were given for good grades, for winning the competition, for accomplishments. You learned, my worth is in my success. To be loved, I must be impressive. Resting feels like falling behind, a terrifying slide into mediocrity, and therefore unworthiness. Or maybe you simply grew up in a system where love was scarce and you had to earn it. You had to be the good girl, the easy child, the one who never caused problems. You learned, my worth is in my compliance. To be loved, I must be perfect. Resting feels like a dangerous indulgence, a flaw in your carefully constructed performance of perfection. This is the deep personal programming that makes the cultural virus of productivity so potent. It is not just a societal should, it is a deeply felt biological must. To stop, to rest, feels on a nervous system level like you are risking your very source of love and safety. The guilt that arises is not just a thought, it is the old alarm bell, the same one we felt when we wanted to say no, screaming again. Danger! You are being unproductive. You are becoming worthless. You will be abandoned. This is where the wisdom of Carl Jung offers a profound key. He taught that the ego, our conscious sense of self, has the tendency to identify with only one side of any polarity. We identify as hardworking, so its opposite, restful or even lazy, gets cast into the shadow. We identify as productive, so unproductive gets exiled. Our entire sense of self becomes dependent on this one-sided identity. But Jung's great insight was that the psyche always seeks wholeness. It seeks balance. The more one-sided our conscious identity becomes, the more the opposite energy builds up in the shadow, clamoring for our attention. Your exhaustion, your burnout, the deep soul-level fatigue you feel, that is your shadow speaking. It is the cry of the exiled, restful parts of yourself begging for balance. It is the psyche's own self-regulating mechanism, trying to save you from your own one-sidedness. But there is another reason we fear the stillness. A deeper one. Busyness is the ultimate anesthetic. It is the most effective, socially sanctioned way to avoid feeling what is truly going on inside of us. As long as we are running, as long as we are doing, as long as our minds are occupied, we don't have to feel the grief that is sitting in our chest. We don't have to feel the loneliness of our own inner exile. We don't have to face the terrifying questions, am I in the right relationship? Is this the life I truly want to be living? Who am I really underneath all this doing? Stillness is a threshold. When you stop, you are left alone with yourself. And for many of us, that is the most terrifying place to be. We fear that if we stop, we will be swallowed by the vast emptiness, the soul void we spoke of yesterday. The guilt we feel about resting is often a secondary emotion. It is a clever smokescreen, a more acceptable feeling to hide the deeper fear. The fear of our own inner world. The fear of what we might find in the quiet. This is the core of this particular shadow work. It is about understanding that our addiction to busyness is a flight from the self. The guilt is the warden, yes, but it is guarding a door. And behind that door is not a monster. It is the quiet, waiting presence of your own soul. It is the unprocessed grief, the unacknowledged dreams, the profound truths you have been too busy to hear. The work, then, is not to fight the guilt. It is to find the courage to turn the knob, to open the door, and to simply sit for a moment in the quiet room of your own being. So we stand at the threshold of the quiet room. Our hand is on the knob, but we are afraid to turn it. We have been conditioned to believe that on the other side of that door lies emptiness, laziness, and worthlessness. This is the great deception. The work of Carl Jung and all the great wisdom traditions teaches us a radical truth. Rest is not the absence of activity. It is a different kind of activity. It is the sacred and essential work of the soul. To reframe our relationship with rest, we must understand the three profound functions of this divine pause. The first function of rest is healing. Our nervous system has two primary modes: the sympathetic state, which is our gas pedal for fight, flight, and doing, and the parasympathetic state, our brake pedal, for rest, digestion, and repair. A life of chronic busyness and stress keeps our foot slammed on the gas pedal. Our bodies are constantly flooded with cortisol and adrenaline. We are in a perpetual state of low-grade survival. This is not sustainable. It is the biological recipe for burnout, illness, and disease. Rest, true rest, is the conscious act of taking your foot off the gas and gently applying the brake. It is the only state in which your body can truly heal. It is when your cells repair themselves. It is when your brain sorts and consolidates memories. It is when your nervous system comes back into a state of balance and regulation. Rest is not a luxury. It is a biological necessity. To deny yourself rest is an act of physiological violence against your own body. The second profound function of the divine pause is creativity. We have a mistaken belief that creativity and great ideas come from relentless effort, from hustling. But the history of human genius tells a different story. Archimedes had his eureka moment not in his study, but in the bath. Newton conceived of gravity not in a laboratory, but while resting under an apple tree. The conscious mind, the ego, is brilliant at focusing, analyzing, and executing, but it is terrible at true out-of-the-box creation. True creativity, the kind that connects disparate ideas in a novel way, comes from the unconscious, from the realm of the shadow. And the unconscious only has space to speak when the conscious mind gets out of the way. When we are resting, when we are daydreaming, when we are walking in nature with no agenda, that is when the ego relaxes its grip. And in that space, the whispers of the unconscious can finally be heard. The brilliant idea, the solution to the problem you've been wrestling with, the next line of the poem, it often arrives not when you are striving, but when you have surrendered. Your relentless work may actually be the very thing that is blocking your own genius. This brings us to the third and most mystical function of rest: integration. This is a core concept in the psychology of Carl Jung. Our lives are a constant stream of experiences, information, emotions, and interactions. We are constantly taking in data, but we so rarely give ourselves time to process it, to digest it, to extract the wisdom from the experience. Imagine you ate a magnificent feast, but never gave your body time to digest it. The food would rot in your stomach. This is what most of us are doing with our lives. We are consuming experiences, a difficult conversation, a beautiful sunset, a painful loss, a joyful moment, and then immediately moving on to the next thing. The experiences remain undigested, floating in our psyche, creating a sense of inner chaos and overwhelm. Rest, the divine pause, is the process of psychological digestion. It is the quiet internal work where the soul takes all the raw data of your life and transforms it. It turns pain into compassion. It turns mistakes into wisdom. It turns joy into gratitude. It is the process of integration, of making these experiences a part of your whole coherent self. Without this pause for integration, we are doomed to repeat the same patterns, to learn the same lessons over and over again, because we never give ourselves the quiet space to let the lesson truly land. Let's imagine a man named Thomas, a successful architect. He is stuck on a major project. He has creative block. He does what his conditioning has taught him to do. He works harder. He spends longer hours at the office. He drinks more coffee. He pushes and strives. And the block only gets worse.
He feels like a failure. His inner critic is screaming at him. Finally, in a state of complete exhaustion and defeat, he gives up. He goes home, turns off his phone, and for the first time in months, he goes for a long, aimless walk in the woods. He is not trying to solve the problem. He has surrendered. He just walks. He listens to the birds. He feels the wind on his face. He is resting. And as he is walking back home, in a moment of complete stillness, the entire design for the building downloads into his mind. Clear, perfect, brilliant. It was there all along in his unconscious, but it could only emerge when he created that sacred space for it, when he allowed for the divine pause. His rest was not a waste of time. It was the most productive, most essential part of his creative process. This is the radical truth we must learn to embrace. The work you do while you are doing nothing is the most important work of all. It is the hidden, silent, and absolutely vital shadow work of healing your body, unlocking your creativity, and integrating the wisdom of your own life. When you see rest through this lens, the guilt begins to lose its power. It is no longer an act of laziness. It is a sacred appointment with your own soul.
So we see the truth. Our fear of rest is a lie we were taught, a lie that told us our worth is external, that our value is in our constant motion. The truth, the deep, soul-level truth, is that rest is not a void, it is a womb. A sacred, fertile space where healing, creativity, and wisdom are born. Knowing this intellectually is the first step, but embodying it, truly believing it on a nervous system level, is the real work. This is the practical, on-the-ground application of our shadow work. It is about creating new experiences for ourselves, experiences that directly contradict the old fearful programming. So, how do we begin to practice this sacred act, especially when the inner tyrant of productivity is screaming so loudly? We must be gentle. We must be strategic. We must treat our rest with the same seriousness and respect that we treat our most important work appointments. I want to offer you a practice for this week that is designed to do just that. I call it the guilt-free rest appointment. Here's what you're going to do. Sometime in the next few days, I want you to open your calendar, your actual calendar, the one you use for your life, and you are going to schedule a 15-minute appointment with yourself. Just 15 minutes. You will write it in, just as you would a meeting with your boss or a doctor's appointment. And for the title of this appointment, you will write Important Meeting. When the time for your appointment arrives, you will treat it with the same non-negotiable respect. You will go to a quiet place where you will not be disturbed. You will put your phone on silent and place it out of reach. You will set a timer for 15 minutes. And for the duration of that time, your only job is to do nothing. This is harder than it sounds. You will not read a book. You will not listen to a podcast. You will not meditate with a guided app, unless that is your one true source of soul food. The goal here is unstructured being. You can sit, you can lie down, you can look out a window. You can simply listen to the sounds of the world around you. And inevitably, the inner tyrant, the voice of the shadow, will show up. The guilt will come, the anxiety will come, the mental to-do list will start screaming for your attention. This is a waste of time. You should be answering those emails. Everyone else is working hard, and you are just sitting here. And here is the crucial move. You do not fight this voice. You do not argue with it. You do not try to shame it into silence. You simply acknowledge it with a kind of detached, compassionate authority. You can say to it, silently in your mind, "Thank you for your input. I see you are concerned with my productivity,
but I am currently in a very important meeting, and I will attend to those other things when it is over. Do you feel the power in that? You are not asking for permission. You are not defending your choice. You are calmly stating a fact. You are treating your own renewal with the same professional dignity as your work. You are signaling to every part of your psyche that the CEO of your life, your conscious whole self, has decided that this meeting is a top priority. When the 15-minute timer goes off, the meeting is over. You can simply notice how you feel. You might feel more relaxed. You might feel just as anxious. It doesn't matter. The victory is not in how you feel afterwards. The victory is that you showed up for the meeting. You kept the appointment with your own soul. Let's imagine Thomas, the architect with creative block, starting this practice. The first time he does it, it's torture. His mind races, the guilt is immense, he feels foolish just sitting there. But he stays for the full 15 minutes. He keeps repeating, I am in an important meeting. The second time he does it, the voices are a little quieter. He notices the pattern of the sunlight on his floor. By the fourth or fifth time, something shifts. He finds himself actually looking forward to his important meeting. It becomes a tiny island of sanctuary in his stressful week, a space where he owes nothing to anyone, a space where he can simply exist. And it is from that space that his best, most creative, most brilliant ideas begin to flow again. This practice, as simple as it sounds, is a radical act of shadow work. You are consciously bringing the exiled part of yourself, the part that knows how to rest, to be, to receive, back into the light of your daily life. You are challenging the one-sided tyranny of the doer and making space for the beer. This is the path to wholeness that Carl Jung spoke of. It is the union of opposites, the integration of the busy self and the still self. By scheduling this rest, you are taking it out of the realm of if I have time or if I've earned it. You are declaring that rest is not a reward. It is a non-negotiable requirement for a healthy, sane, and creative life. You are starting a quiet revolution, one 15-minute meeting at a time.
Today, we have challenged one of the most powerful tyrants of the modern psyche, the belief that our worth is measured by our productivity, the voice that tells us that to rest is a sin. We have unmasked this belief, not as a personal flaw, but as a cultural inheritance and a childhood survival program. We have learned that our addiction to busyness is often a flight from the self, a way to avoid the profound truths that wait for us in the quiet. And most importantly, we have radically reframed the act of rest. It is not emptiness. It is the sacred divine pause. It is the essential unseen work of healing our bodies, unlocking our creativity, and integrating the wisdom of our lives. This is the deep, restorative path of shadow work that Carl Jung illuminates for us. The practice of the guilt-free rest appointment is your tool to begin this revolution. It is a simple, conscious act of treating your own well-being with the same respect you give to your work. Each time you keep this appointment, you are casting a vote for a new way of being, a way that is balanced, whole, and deeply nourishing. But as you begin to embrace stillness, as you stop the constant motion of doing and helping, a new, more subtle fear may begin to surface from the shadow. If my value is not in what I do, then who am I? If I am not the busy, capable, productive person everyone relies on, will I still matter? If I become quiet, will I become invisible? This is the deep existential fear of the person whose identity has been fused with their function. Why do we feel so unseen when we are not performing? And how do we cultivate an unshakable sense of our own presence, a light that shines from within, regardless of what we are doing? That is the luminous mystery we will step into together tomorrow on day 8 of our journey. For this week, your sacred task is to make an appointment with your own soul. Schedule your 15 minutes. Treat it as the most important meeting of your week. And practice meeting the voice of guilt not with a fight, but with a calm, quiet authority. To anchor this radical act of self-love, I invite you to make a public declaration in the comments below. It is a statement that reclaims the sacredness of your own time. Simply write, "I am scheduling my important meeting." By sharing this, you join a powerful collective of individuals who are all pushing back against the tyranny of busyness. You are affirming that you are worthy of rest simply because you exist. And you are opening the door to the profound wisdom that can only ever be found in the divine pause. Thank you for honoring your own stillness. The real work has just begun.